When it comes to budgeting for a virtual assistant, my initial response might surprise you. Don't. I understand that you're running a business and you need to know where your money is going. Cash is the oxygen of the business, and if you don't have cash, you're out of business. So in this episode, let's focus on exactly how to budget for a virtual assistant, how to know how much money to put aside so that you don't run out of cash. When it comes to budgeting for a virtual assistant, my initial response might surprise you. Don't. And here's why. Because every person that you have on your team should be an investment, not a cost. Now, in this episode, we will talk about how to budget for a virtual assistant, but I want to start with this important mindset that every person, every hire that you have, every decision that you make in your company should bring you a positive ROI. Sometimes it's not that easy to see. Sometimes, you hire virtual assistants that are directly related to money-making activities, which is easier to measure. But a lot of other times, you hire virtual assistants to free up your time so that you can bring more money into the company. And that is also a positive ROI. It just looks different. That VA is not directly related to money-making activities, but then again, you don't have to be so involved in the minutia and the daily tasks and little things so that you can focus on bigger needle-moving activities, contributing enormously for your company. And the reason I don't necessarily like to budget for a hire is because of this. If I could turn 5K into 50K, wouldn't I be eager to turn 10K into 100K? If I know that I could get a 10x return, you'd probably do the same, right? So a lot of the times people hire virtual assistants solely based on the price, not necessarily based on what they can do. But if I know that I could turn 10K into 100K, I would do this any day, all day long, right? Because ultimately it just benefits me more. So just think about it this way. However, I understand that you're running a business and you need to know where your money is going. Cash is the oxygen of the business. And if you don't have cash, you're out of business. So at the beginning, I understand that you need to control or how this is going, or at least maybe build some trust with that person before you know what kind of return they can bring you. So in this episode, let's focus on exactly how to budget for a virtual assistant, how to know how much money to put aside so that you don't run out of cash. So number one is you want to clearly define your needs. So first of all, understand what is this person going to do in your company? How is this person going to positively contribute to the financial well-being of your company, right? So think about this. What exactly will they do? Are you hiring a social media manager? Are you hiring a copywriter? Are you hiring a video editor? Are you hiring a lead generation? Are you hiring a cold caller? What is it that this person will do, and how many hours will they work per week or per month? Try to understand what exactly they will do and what do you need. So, for example, if you hire social media, maybe you want 1 reel every day. So that's 5 reels a week. How many hours do you think a person will need to complete these 5 reels a week? I'll give you an actual example. Right now, we just hired a copywriter. This is our most recent hire. Up until now, if you've been getting our emails and everything, they were all written by me, just because I'm very picky about the copy that I put out there. And I need to make sure that it is my voice and it is my personality as well. But we have found an amazing virtual assistant who is doing copywriting, who sees the world the same way, who has the same core values as I. So we're pretty much in sync. So we're just at the beginning of our relationship. And I am in this process right now, identifying how will this person contribute to the financial stability and financial improvement of our company. How will this person bring more money into the company? So I sat down and I thought, okay, I need a copywriter to do what? To work on our newsletter, to work on our email sequences, to work on the copy on the page, to make it more persuasive, to maybe help me one day write a book. So I think about all of these tasks that virtual assistant will do. And then I'm thinking, how many hours do I need that person for? Up until now, we have a lot going on. I started a newsletter. I just had so much on my plate. I didn't finish it. So at this point, I can keep her busy for 8 hours a day. Okay. But until we understand each other's preferences, I understand that she will not be writing 8 hours a day. I'll have to train her. She'll have to watch my previous materials, understand my voice, and so on, right? So take that into account as well. How much will it be in training, and how much do you have to allocate? How many hours do you want that virtual assistant to work for you? So be realistic. This is what we're going through right now. And I can make quick math in my mind, right? It's 8 hours a day, multiply by her hourly rate, 5 days a week. So I kind of understand how much money I need to put aside for her. Now, why is this important? Copywriting, I'm not going to see immediately a return on her work, right? This is copywriting. This is the long game. It will not immediately create cash in my company. However, because I'm not going to be the one doing this, I can focus on other things. I can focus on networking. I can focus on speaking on stages. I can focus on other things where I can generate more leads, or maybe even this one, doing the podcast. This is something that, again, where I set myself as an expert. I know what I'm talking about, right? So all of this is done because I have a team behind me who is running the daily things, so I don't have to be involved in that. So this is the process of that right now. That's number one. Define the needs specifically, exactly. Know exactly what that virtual assistant will work on and for how many hours. Number two is research market rates. Now, if you don't work with a company like us who have seen hundreds and hundreds of virtual assistants, no, thousands of virtual assistants by now, and we understand the rates for different roles, we understand geographical locations and what they prefer to be paid. But let's say if you're doing this on your own and you have no idea where to start, then your basis of comparison would be nothing, or maybe what you have here in the States, but you don't know what it looks like to work with international talent. Do some research. Find online, ask people, find some jobs online. There are a lot of Facebook groups. There are a lot of job portals, like everything. Just kind of see how much money people would be willing to work for. But again, think about what is the role you're hiring for. If you need someone, like you need a general VA, usually that price might be lower. If you're looking for a specialized, niched virtual assistant, this might be on the higher side. I would say overall, you can find VAs for pretty much any price. Recently, we interviewed someone who was also for a copywriting position. Actually, she had pretty good portfolio and she was willing to work for $3 an hour from a different country. We didn't end up hiring her because we did find the other person who is a lot more experienced and the copywriter that I mentioned earlier, and we're so much more aligned. Look, you can find talent for $3 an hour. I can't promise the quality though, because some people maybe want to get their foot in the door and they would like to start on a lower rate, but you are ultimately the one taking the risk. Can this person deliver? Can this person not deliver? That's exactly what happened. I saw her portfolio, she put it herself, it looked nice, but it was a risk on my end that it wasn't worth going through because, I just needed my work to look good, solid, and I don't have a lot of time to train someone or hold someone's hand. But she did have good talent. Like everything she put together, it was good. We just decided to go the other route. But that's what I'm saying. Some people might want to get their foot in the door. So you decide if it's worth it for you. But again, keep in mind that ROI. Not only for certain positions, you will not see the ROI right away, but also if you are taking someone without experience, you might be attracted to this low rate of $3 an hour or $4 an hour. But ultimately, what if you end up spending more because you have to put your time training that new person and not knowing if this relationship is going to work in the long run? So the only reason you're hiring a virtual assistant is to free up your time. And when you hire someone without experience, you might actually put more time into that person. You see what I'm saying? So it's always a trade. You always have to come from your point of view. You're always paying, whether it's money or whether it's time, but you're always paying in something. Or maybe it's your energy or your sanity, but there's always a price to everything you're doing. So do some research. If you want to work with a company like ours, we already do all this research. We already know people in different parts of the world, what they charge for what position. I would say normally you could find good talent between $6 and $8. This is usually the sweet spot. That's usually what you find. But again, it depends on so many factors. So do your research. The third thing that you want to do, we kind of touched upon that, but decide if you need someone part-time or full-time. It kind of goes again to point number one for how many hours you need that person. So let's say you need someone part-time. Let's talk about the risks here and the benefits. The benefits is that you can control the budget, right? You can say, I want this person to work 4 hours for me or 3 hours for me. That's great. So what is the downside? The downside is that virtual assistants, especially because they're being paid per hour, they will need to find other jobs to fill the hours that they have available. So they might work with 2 clients, with 3 clients, multiple clients, which means that their attention will be divided among different people. And you may not, again, that's not 100%, but there's a possibility that you might not be getting the quality of work that you are hoping to get. Okay. So keep this in mind and be very intentional when you talk to a virtual assistant about what you expect in return. For 3 hours a day, this is what I expect. Again, let's say you're hiring someone for social media and you want 1 reel a day or 2 reels a day, posted captions, all of that. Then you have to be realistic. If that includes research, you can say for 3 hours a day, I expect to have 5 or 8 reels per week, posted, engagement with, you just do something that is realistic. Now, the part-time, this is the plus side and the downside, right? Now, with full-time, what are the ups and downs? The downside is, of course, that you might spend more money on a monthly basis, but on the upside is you have that consistency. You have that loyal person that is dedicated to you, works with you, and as long as they're making enough money with you, they will stay with your company. So always, in any case, communicate with your virtual assistant. Communication is very, very important. Number 4, and this is very important, there are additional costs to a virtual assistant. So we're talking about how to budget for a virtual assistant. You don't just look at the hourly rate and the number of hours that they need to work. Take other factors into account, such as softwares or tools. You will need to give them access to maybe a seat on your CRM, or you want to use a program like HubStaff, for example, that checks their hours and making sure that they're doing the work. Or maybe you need to give them a US phone number, or, for whatever role that you're hiring, expect that there will be a charge, or expect that there will be an expense when it comes to access to different tools and softwares. Another expense will be bonuses. Let's say this virtual assistant is doing a fantastic job for you. You will be giving them bonus. Maybe you're giving them a bonus per client that they serve, or per lead that they close, or per sales that they close, or, whatever they do, but you want your people to be incentivized. So of course, this also will be an additional expense. However, if you're paying bonus, that means if the company wins, the virtual assistant wins something extra as well. So this wouldn't be too hard on your bottom line. And of course, another expense would be training. Give them access to different trainings. Maybe you want people with experience who already know how things are done, but invest in them. Invest in, if you have a good training program, if you have additional support somewhere else, invest in your people so that they can bring you more money into the company, so they can be more efficient in the long run and just, have a more positive impact. And the reason you want to plan for all of this is because you want to avoid any surprises down the road. And now we can put all of the pieces of the puzzle together and look at the monthly budget for a virtual assistant. Of course, you will be looking at the numbers of hours worked times the hourly rate that the VA will have. That will give you the monthly basis. And on top of that, add the training costs, the cost of the tools, softwares, all of that. And of course, any bonuses, any incentives, or whatever you agree with the virtual assistant. Now, if you work with a company, keep in mind that there might be some additional charge. Maybe you work with a company that places VAs where you have to pay a monthly fee every time. So that might be, obviously you have to take that into account. And if you work with a company like us, we do have a finder's fee. It's a one-time fee, but we don't put you on this monthly payment. So it's very easy to budget and to understand where your money is going. You have full transparency on how to work with us, how much the VA wants to be paid. We never take a cut out of the VA salary. So you have full transparency and total control over the people that you work with. So take all of this into account as well. And if you're hiring on your own, then there will be additional charges on running ads everywhere. There are job boards where you have to pay a monthly fee. And don't forget to unsubscribe once you found your person. But if you have a lot of time, you might find a person much faster. But if you don't have a lot of time, you might take maybe 2-3 months to find the right person, because you never know when the best candidate sees your ad. So you have a lot of paid ads, a lot of platforms to find good people. Just take those into account as well. And plus, look at the amount of hours that you're spending to find that person. Look at missed opportunities as well. It's not a directly monetary cost, but a lot of people overlook this important thing. If I know that I could talk to a client that's going to bring me, $200 per hour because of that transaction, because of that relationship that I have with that person, why would I spend so much time finding a virtual assistant on my own? So look at missed opportunities, because like I said, you always pay in something. Maybe it's time, maybe it's money, maybe it's your energy, whatever it is, right? So just keep that into account as well. So let's say you've done everything up until this point. Now, here's the interesting thing. Your plan is not always how it translates in real life. So now that you have a virtual assistant, you want to review the monthly budget at the end of every month. You want to review the costs, plus you want to review the output. Now, again, keep in mind what I said at the beginning of this episode, that you hire someone as an investment. You want to measure that investment. You spend this much money because you want something else in return. How is that looking for you? Because you can plan for one thing, but when you look at reality, it might look completely different. Now, did you really spend how much you wanted to spend? Or were there some additional surprises that you had to incur? And are you really getting the output that you are hoping to get? Does this investment make sense? Now, if it doesn't make sense, maybe give it some time for the VA to ramp up, or perhaps your expectations are not realistic, Or, let's be honest, maybe you don't have the right person and you might have to go through the entire hiring process all by yourself again and again until you do find that person who can bring you that ROI. Again, keeping in mind that the expectations you set are realistic and you know somebody who actually does it. Or these are the results you would be getting if you were in that seat. So a lot of people think that virtual assistants are machines and they can do all kinds of work and they can do this and that and they will completely change your business. No, let's keep the word assistant in word assistant. They're assisting you. They're not here to transform a business. They're not here to run the business for you. They're not the secret ingredient to magically have multiple sales and people banging on your door wanting to buy your product and your service. That's not what's gonna happen. Can it happen? Yes, but that's not the expectation you should have of a virtual assistant. So instead, keep the expectations realistic. How can they assist you with your goals, with your vision to make it a reality? And the reason I say it is because I've seen it. Another thing to consider is the virtual assistant. This is a long-term ROI. It's a long-term return on your investment. You might not see improvements right away, but give it time. I will give you an example. When I started my company, I was doing everything on my own. Every little thing. Even though, we're a company that hires virtual assistant, but at the beginning, I wanted to know every single step of the process so I know who to hire and how to delegate it effectively. So I did everything on my own, and then little by little, I hired people. I hired someone who vets virtual assistants. I hired someone who handles customer inquiries. I hired someone who does something else, right? So more and more positions are being handled by other people in my company. It didn't start out this way, but my ROI is completely different now than what it was 2 or 3 years ago, because the people that I train, these people have stayed with me throughout this entire time. And these people who started as, let's say, maybe interviewing virtual assistants, now they're running the fulfillment department and they're doing a fantastic job. So the ROI of that person that I hired back then is not the same as the ROI I'm getting from the exact same person now. Of course, she has her salary increase, she has bonuses, all of that, but also because this is positively contributing to my company's financial well-being. And this is a long-term game. You will not see the ROI, like I said, right away or immediately, but give it time. If you have the right person with the right personality, with the right attitude, with the right drive to succeed, then start slow, give them more and more and more. And as they become more familiar with what you want, with what you stand for, then you will see a lot more productivity, a lot more efficiency. You play the long game here, but it's so, so worth it. These are my thoughts on how to budget for virtual assistant. I hope you found that useful. Just to recap again, think of it as an investment, not a cost. This is a long-term investment, and always monitor and make sure you adjust the budget if necessary. Make sure you're getting the output that you want as long as it's realistic. And also, of course, when you budget for a virtual assistant, don't just look at the hourly rate times the number of hours they worked. There could be a lot of other charges along the way that come with the role and they come with the territory. So let me know if you have any questions, or let me know in the comments what you found useful here or what other topics you'd like me to discuss. I'm always happy to talk about virtual assistant and bring in value to you. So thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.